this is all about X's story, X apostrophe story, okay? And this X is a variable which can be assigned with a lot of qualitative parameters like his story, her story, my story, your story, okay? Their story, my story, okay? So there can be a number of subjects we can refer to. And narrative is important. Narration is also important. At the same time, we understand narrativity is also important. Okay? And for me to talk about this, because I'm a computer science engineer and also a patent practitioner, it may look or it may sound apparently something disconnected, out of place. But believe me, this is something that is helping me to the last extent to build on my own business model and to understand the noise in the startup SME landscape. And once I do a kind of hardcore frequency domain analysis of the noise, the jitter, okay, and that can be thermal noise, it could be, you know, optical noise, it could be audio noise, okay. I'm doing basically the budget management of all the energy that I pump in terms of my manpower, in terms of my capital and time, because I'm also playing in the startup and SME landscape. And the cancellation of noise or artifacts or jitter is very, very important. In fact, it is the need of the hour. And while I also appreciate the fact that there are people who are running their business, it is their bread and butter, with due respect and no offense whatsoever to those players, I would still like to say that I have the right to educate people and audience and to myself, that do I actually need to tell my story? Is my story ripe enough to be told? Am I trying to create a true hype or false hype? Or am I trying to, you know, make it or fake it? If I'm doing that, it's fine. But do I really need to tell this in the public domain? Is it the right time? And am I doing justice to the system by, in fact, pumping in money to pay a paid media or a paid public relations company to tell my story, just to exhibit my narrativity, the capability or the ability to narrate a story, and somebody's ability to actually, you know, assist me in narrating my story? That's not the game, my dear friend. The game is totally different. Narration is correct, but the narrator has to think whether this story is required at this point in time. There are startups who actually need to think in the right direction. Whether I am going to sustain, and am I playing a long-term game? Am I doing justice to the investors' money? Am I in a position to benefit the society at large? Because if you have a lot of money as a businessman, or for that matter businesswoman, you can then give it back to the society. And then your story looks good. But in this scenario, the narrator, stroke facilitator, actually ends up making money. You narrate your story and the story is not right. So what the point I'm trying to make here is, narratives are important to handle problems. But if I just tell the narration in a way where I'm actually trying to tell the success story, it may be true or false. It may be manufactured. But in the end, I'm actually, misleading. And I'm actually not doing service justice to the society at large. People who are budding entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs do not get the right information. This somewhere, to me seems like it amounts to a kind of fake news. I may not be right. I stand here to be corrected. But for me to buy your counter argument you need to provide me substantial evidence in support of the fact that there was ample contextual programming done by the entities in play in a given context. Then again I come back to generic programming versus contextual programming. As I talked earlier about complex event processing, you need to understand the entities in play, the interrelationship between the entities and the interactions and the ambient environment. And then the narration makes sense, because every problem is a new problem. You cannot generalize problem. You do not categorize the problems, because prior to categorizing you need to profile. Profiling a context means profiling all the entities who are active and passive participants in the context. That's the need of the hour. We'll talk about it later, my dear friend. Thank you.